Welcome back to the How We Can Heal podcast. Today, our guest is Katharina Hartmuth, an ultrarunner who has learned to invest in her mind just as much as her muscles. Originally from Germany and now living in Switzerland, Katharina has a quiet determination that shines through in each race she runs. She's the winner of the legendary Tour de Géants 330-kilometer race and has stood on the podium at both Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, UTMB, and the Hardrock 100 multiple times. What's just as remarkable, though, is how she shows up with humility, joy, and a deep respect for the mountains and the people around her. Today, we talk about healing on and off the trail, and Katharina shares the value she's found in psychotherapy to help her address experiences of trauma. Katharina reminds us that endurance isn't just about pushing through pain. It's about connection, compassion, and being fully authentic to our deepest sense of self each step of the way. I feel lucky to have seen Katharina out on the trail running and crossing those finish lines, and even more so to have this chat with her here today. Please join me in welcoming Katharina Hartmuth to the show. Katharina, welcome to the How We Can Heal podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you here today. I think some people who are listening are in the ultra space and know you well. Some folks are yogis, mental health professionals, other wellness providers, and might not know of your beautiful beastliness, as I was just calling it. You're such an inspiration, and just we've met briefly at races. I don't expect you to remember. And you're always just so warm and kind too. And there's something really beautiful about that. So I want to kind of dig into some different things, the documentary that came out about you recently, and just share that with folks today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to talk to you, and thanks so much for the invitation.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes. So I feel like this is such a selfish question, but as someone who's never run Hardrock and would love to, but might never, I mean, there's a lot of us out there who would love to, but just might never do it for a whole host of reasons, right? It's a hard race to get into. It takes a lot of training and fitness and probably gifts from the universe, right? To get to the start line. So what's it like to be out there at like 15,000 plus feet for 100 miles on the trail? What is that particular race like for you?
Well, first of all, it's hard.
Yeah, right?
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's just a tough race. I mean, just the altitude and being at altitude like for so long, and like some stretches of the race are just like at 12,000 feet and longer for like many hours without ever going like lower. So yeah, I think the altitude is just what ultimately makes it so difficult.
Yeah.
Even without the altitude, it would be a difficult race. I mean, there's a lot of climbing. It's still 100 miles. Like there is difficult technical sections in the race. But I think, yeah, for me, like the ultimate factor, and that also, at least for me, it makes it different from the races I usually do in Europe, is just the altitude.
Yeah.
And just, having less air.
High up there. It makes me think it's like a spiritual experience just being that high in the air. You know, you're like so in the mountains. And so I think that's part of my personal longing for it. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. We'll just put it out there. Maybe one day it'll come together. Can you share some favorite moments from that particular race?
Well, I think the cool thing with Hardrock is like one thing I really like is that it's a really small race. I mean, it's really popular, but because there is only so few people who are allowed to run it each year, there certainly is like a buzz at the start and before the race and everything. But what I really like is that you are out there basically on your own. Like after a few hours, the field is so stretched, which is just, it makes it feel less like a race.
Yeah.
Like you're just like running on your own through this beautiful nature. And actually, because it is so remote, like you really don't think about being in a race apart from like, running through a few towns that are along the way and being at the aid station, which I really enjoy because one reason why I run is just that I love being in the mountains. And I also really love being in the mountains on my own.
Yes.
Just do my own thing. And I mean, there is big races where you never really have that alone time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something I definitely really like about hard rock. But on the other side, the aspect of the community is also something that draws me towards the race. It's a very special community, especially because there's so many people who have been connected to the race for decades.
Yeah.
They have met all their friends at the race, and yeah, they have the race has been such an important part of their life. And when you talk to these people, and they are, you meet them at aid stations and around the race, it's cool to see how something simple like a race can connect people in a very special way, and to experience that, and also like their passion for the race and for the place there, and just for running in general. Yeah, that's just something unique, and it's really just a really nice atmosphere, because everybody who is there, from the volunteers to the veterans and the race organizers, they live for that race. And
Yeah.
I think that's something really special.
Yeah.
And it's certainly, apart from the running in the nature, the community is just such an important part of hard
Yeah.
rock.
It's so beautiful. And I resonate so much with what you're saying because I got drawn towards ultra running because I was like, I just get to be in the mountains. Somebody picked the trail. They put flags out for me. There's snacks. There's people cheering at
Right.
the end. It's like a long all day, or depending on the distance, it's a long hike that's like fully supported and celebrated. I'm like, sign me up, right? And the community aspect of that, I'll just share briefly. I knew about Hard Rock, but I watched the live coverage in 2023 when my daughter was, what, 2, 3 months old. And I was sitting there nursing her in the chair, watching on the TV, the whole thing. Right. And then this was the summer that Courtney Dauwalter was doing her Triple Crown, right? So I watched all of those. And then lo and behold, the following year, we just ended up, I didn't put it together till the end of that summer. I was like, oh, we ended up going to all of those races. Once my daughter turned 1, we went to Western states as we normally do. We live in California. We went to Hard Rock for the first time in 2024 when you were running it and cheered for you. And then we went to UTMB that year too. And same thing last year. It's like once we got a taste of it, we weren't planning to go this year, but it got close and we were like, oh, we just got to be there. Like it's such a great energy. And like you said, it's the community and it's small. There's a buzz. There's so much love and appreciation of the mountains. And I think of the sport. And like you said, it's hard. I think there's
Yeah.
a real appreciation and celebration of that, and even the vulnerability in it. Because I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, I've always said this, like, I don't know if I'm going to do a long race, if I'm going to finish or not. Like you really put yourself out there when you do things like this. And so it's been such a joy just to be a part of that, and go to Ure or Telluride and cheer at the finish line, and feel like you could sort of participate with people who are out there in the field. So let's talk a little bit about the hard moments. Like it could be hard rock or just in general in trail running. What would you say are some of the most challenging moments for you out there?
Well, first of all, I would say that there is always challenging moments in each race that I do, because the races that I do are so long usually. So it's almost impossible to have a race that is like more than 15 hours long without experiencing a low.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's something bad. I mean, it's just something you need to be prepared for. That's, at some point something will happen. And actually, I think that it's quite diverse what could happen. And especially in hard rock, I experienced issues that I haven't experienced in that way before. So I think my biggest challenge with hard rock, like the 2 hard rocks I've done, is certainly like my vision issues.
Yeah.
Doing both hard rocks, I experienced that after a certain amount of time, I struggled to see
Yeah.
clearly. I
Yeah.
lost my vision like partially, and actually in this year's race, I lost it completely at some point. So that was certainly a challenge that I'm not used to that much, but that is, for me, it's specific for hard rock, and I think it is because of the altitude.
Yeah.
Like something is not working well with my eyes when I work hard for a long time at altitude, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm currently looking at it with my ophthalmologist and
Yeah.
some experts for altitude to find solutions
Good.
how
Yeah.
to deal with it in future races. But I would say apart from that, like the classic problems doing along the race for me is, well, first of all, anything that is linked to nutrition. stomach issues, not being able to eat or to drink, and then of course you know, lose your energies. And yeah, that's a big issue. I had that last year doing Hardrock, that I think the altitude makes it even harder to eat. So
Yeah.
I couldn't eat for a very long time, and then I just bonked like crazy. And once I was so low on energy, it was even harder to get back to eating. So I think that's something that can affect your race a lot. But of course, it's also like just pain. You know, your muscles will hurt at some point, no matter how well trained you are. And for example, doing UTMB this year, I think because of the cold weather there, I
Oh,
had
it was epic, that cold
it was
weather there.
it was like the most epic conditions ever. Like I like last year at Tour de Géants, we already had like really bad weather, and I was like, okay, I think I'm prepared to run in the rain, but that was not just rain.
It was a
It
monsoon.
was like,
Yeah.
it was crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, I was prepared to run in the rain for a long time, but I was not prepared to run in a shower for 5 hours
Didn't you
without a
say
break,
in your interview at the end, I didn't know I needed to bring my bathing suit?
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I should have brought a wetsuit.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Well, and then I had some problems with my quads like pretty early on in the race, like after 50 miles already. And man, it was so painful, but I knew that I wasn't injured. I was just like, well, I guess just my muscles hurt, and it was really hard. And yeah, I think all these little things, that usually the problem at some point is not your body, it's like what your mind does with it. So
Yeah.
if my legs hurt, it's not my legs that decide that I cannot run anymore, but it's my mind that makes me question if I can do this and if it is the right thing. And yeah, I mean, pain is nothing nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we do this and we are prepared to experience some pain in the race, and it's part of the race. But yeah, I think usually the low points in a race, in a long race for me, are, yeah, usually either it's the nutrition that I cannot get in, or that makes my stomach just feel bad, or yeah, it's some physical like problems with my legs, with my muscles, that
Yeah.
make me feel bad. And yeah, I think actually for most people, also just the mental, it's just a mental challenge as well, like asking yourself, how long do I still have, you know, and why
Yeah.
do I do this, and shouldn't I just stop, and you know. But and I would say it's certainly challenging, but I never really encounter like, or usually I don't encounter like moments where just my mind tells me I should stop, or like, you know, where I think about, oh, I could also stop and, you know, be
Yeah.
more comfortable
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
I only had like one or two races ever where I at some point I asked myself why I am doing this. So
Yeah.
I think I have a pretty strong motivation why I run. And yeah, of course, if I'm injured or if I feel that I get sick, then maybe I think about that stopping would be the better option. But
Sure.
just because I'm bored or I don't want to run anymore or I feel not well in that moment, I usually don't feel it so much like on my, like how I feel mentally. So I think that's maybe one of my strengths actually, because I'm not the strongest runner, certainly not. And I don't think I have the physical abilities to like, just from the physical side, to be like a top contender. But I think that especially on the longer, you know, the longer a race is, the more important it is what you do, like how your mind works and how you approach the race from a mental perspective. And I think I'm pretty good with just dealing with uncomfortable situations
Yeah.
and being as comfortable as I can be while actually feeling very uncomfortable. So I think that's a uh, good characteristic to have when you do these long races.
Yeah, I hear that as in my, so like I'm a trauma therapist, right? And there's all these models of your nervous system, and one of them is called the window of tolerance. And so what you're describing to me sounds like a wide window of tolerance. It's like I'm in pain, but I can be comfortable here. I can ask the question, am I hurt or am I tired? And if I'm tired, I can keep going if I want to,
Yeah.
right? And the decision or the option is there to stop, but it sounds like it only really enters your mind if you're like, am I really sick or am I hurting myself here? Like, I mean, that's always my limit, is like, I don't want to hurt myself, but I'm okay being like, ouch, like
Oh yeah.
this is
Oh totally.
hurting, as
Yeah.
long as it's not like you're not going to run after it.
And what you say, like I mean, for example, during the Hardrock this year, when I couldn't see, I was like, okay, now I'm concerned because, you know, I don't want to risk losing my eyesight while doing a race. So that was when I actually thought about, well, might it be better to stop? And then I talked to the medics at the aid station. They were like, no, you should be fine. It feels worse than it is. So, and they were right. And also because I experienced it last year and I experienced how quickly it was going away after the race. The condition, I was concerned that I couldn't see anything, but somehow, yeah, I knew that I wasn't risking like my eyesight. So if that would have been the case, then of course I would have stopped.
It's ocular edema, right? It's like it happens to all athletes. It's not an
It's like a swelling.
Yeah.
And I think, well, of course, the movement and just like continuous like exercise for many, many hours aggravates it. But I think certain conditions like the humidity or altitude or the dust level in the air is just, that can further just make it more severe. So
So how would you describe what keeps you going in those moments where it's uncomfortable or maybe there's a question of like, should I stop? And you get some reassurance like, no, you're going to be okay. You know, this is uncomfortable, but it's safe. What is it within you? How would you describe what keeps you moving forward?
I would say I just have like a really strong intrinsic motivation to run in the mountains. And I think the biggest key for success for me is the joy in what I'm doing. So like trail running for me, or just, well, not just trail running, but being in the mountains, it's just the one thing that brings me the most joy in life. So if you would give me like a week where I have nothing to do and you would tell me, hey, just go and, you know, do whatever brings you joy, I would just spend a week in the mountains and be there because it just really, it fulfills me like in a way that nothing else really can fulfill me. So it's just something that is so enjoyable for me. And of course, I mean, I'm speaking from the position of being a pro athlete, so there is certainly some work involved too, and not every day is as joyful. There is some training sessions that are just hard, and there is some days where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do this today. But I would say on average, and especially when I go to the mountains, like it's almost never a question for me if I'm motivated or not. I just am, because it gives me so much in return. So, and I think that's just, for me, that's such a strong driver. And that's also something with the races. I always tell myself, if one day I feel that I like the fun is not has not the highest priority anymore, but it's more about achieving a certain I don't know, like achieving a podium, or just it's more about the performance and not so much about enjoying it. I think I always tell myself that if that day would come, I would need to change something, and I would need to maybe step back from racing and just focusing on the running itself. I mean, I only ever had one race where I felt a bit under pressure, and where I felt, oh, now it's not so fun anymore, and I feel more like I have to achieve something, and I have to win this race and fulfill the expectations of others. But that was the only race, and actually I realized really quickly during the race why I was not running well and why I was not feeling well, because I felt like I wasn't running for fun basically, but for something else. And luckily I managed to get around this and find my true motivation again. And I think also because this, from like this perspective, gives you a certain way of like being a bit more relaxed before a race as well. Yes, of course, there is sometimes you feel like, oh, yes, of course, I am pretty good runner. Maybe people expect me to perform well, but I think I can separate this from my very own motivation and my own goals. And I can accept that maybe people expect something, but it's not affecting me
Yeah.
that much. So I think that's really helpful. Yeah, and also just I think running was like such an important tool for me to be like a stabilizer when my life was maybe not as stable, or there wasn't many things that made me feeling not too well in general. And I think the running was always something I could go back to and I could rely on, and it just in the fact that it makes me feel good
Yeah.
and like, happy and fulfilled and balanced.
Yeah. There was a documentary that recently came out, I think in the last 3 weeks or month, on YouTube called Katharina, and it's all about your journey. And you talk about how running in the mountains has been healing for you. Do you feel like it's connected to that sense of motivation and joy you were just describing? What else is happening when you're in the mountains? How is it healing?
Yeah, totally. I would say healing mostly in the sense that it's something that, yeah, first of all, it brings me joy and makes me happy, but also I think one important thing is that I can just, when I run in the mountains, especially when I'm on my own, I feel like I can just be myself. Like I feel free from any, yeah, expectation or any, yeah, anything that others want me to do or others think I should do. I'm just free to run and be outside and be myself. And I think that's really definitely healing. But I think it's also healing, or well, in a sense that it makes me maybe more stable and more self-confident is when I set myself a challenge, for example, and then I just go and try to do it. Like, for example, when I started running in the night on my own, like that, I mean, it's still to this day, it's always a challenge because I just prefer to run in the daylight. But it was a big challenge in the beginning, and I wasn't sure if I could do it on my own, but then I did it and I could do it. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, I can just go out there and run on my own in the middle of the night. And, not many people would do that. And it's not
Yep.
about being better than somebody else. That definitely not. But it's more about, okay, it gives me the confidence,
Mhm.
that I can do something on my own that is pretty challenging. And I realized that helps a lot with other tasks in life that have nothing to do with running at all.
Mhm.
But where I feel like, oh, maybe in the beginning, I'm not sure if I can do something, but well, I mean, yeah, I already did it with running or with challenges in the mountains, and yeah, then sometimes yeah, you can take that and it helps you in everyday life as well. But I think yeah, it's just I think especially this feeling of, hey, I am a strong person after all,
Yeah.
and maybe not so much in the physical way. Like, of course, I need to have strong legs to get up and down the
Oh yeah.
mountains, but more from the mental side, like
Yeah.
I can do something that maybe is a bit scary in the beginning or where I have doubts and where I'm not sure if I can do it. But the cool thing with the mountains is I can just go there and try it. And if I don't achieve my goal, nobody needs to know and it's fine. And I don't lose money or whatever. I'm just like, okay, I will try again next time.
Yeah.
um, so it's a really just peaceful playground, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, and of course also, well, I talk a lot about how I run on my own, and that's really something I enjoy, but also through running, meeting other people, of course, along the way, be it when I'm at races or through my sponsors or just through running in general. And I think that is also part of the healing because I think I've met so many people through running that have maybe not the same story, but their very own story, of course. But I think especially the ultra running, it brings together many people who have something going on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe some have some sort of trauma they deal with, some have, I don't know, some other issues, or yeah, maybe even mental health issues. And but the running or being outside in nature just helps them as well. And I think I met way more people through running where I connected with them also over these things than I did outside of running. Also, I think because running and being outside in the mountains is already a good connector. So you already have something,
Yeah.
that you both love. And then it's easier also to talk about other things. But yeah, I think also just meeting people along the way that have their own story, but yeah, also are connected through that passion. I think that's also part of healing in some way.
Definitely having that sense of connection with other people.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I know in the documentary you mentioned like having the feeling, having had trauma in your childhood growing up, and like having the feeling of being on your own planet, like, oh, like
Yeah.
not feeling connected, right? Like I think most of us have felt that way to some degree in our lives. And like finding what you're describing, like the connection to yourself, the connection to joy, the lack of expectations of others, or the separating that, like letting it go, the connection to nature, the connection to the community. It's like connection, right?
Yeah.
You're connecting on so many levels with yourself, with other people in a genuine way, shared interests and shared experience, and then also like with the planet itself underneath your feet, and through your eyes when you can see through them, when you're
Yeah.
beautiful views. So it sounds like the connection piece on those three levels is a big part of what feels healing for you out there.
Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. I think that for a long part of my life, I was afraid of connections
Mm-hmm.
for different reasons. But I think just learning how to make good connections after all, that was a really important part for me to like feel better and yeah, like progress on my own journey. Yeah, and also accepting that we are human beings. Like there's a few exceptions, but most of us we need connections
Yeah.
to like feel good and feel better and to just be like yeah stable and happy. And I think I used to have that perspective because I had some really bad connections with people as well. As I just used to have that perspective, oh, I have to do everything on my own and I better shouldn't trust anyone because it didn't go well in the past.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I was stuck in that thinking for a really long time.
Yeah.
Um, and I, well, in hindsight, I know it was, of course, a protection mechanism, but it took so long to get out of that and actually accept the fact that, yeah, maybe that those connections were bad and they were harmful, but that doesn't mean that there is no good connections, you know?
Right.
And actually, I felt like so comfortable in that, in being isolated or on my own, that I didn't realize that that was not the best option. You
Yeah.
know, I was like, okay, this is my comfort zone, but, and I thought I was comfortable in that because I was protecting myself from more bad things happening to me through bad connections. But at the same time, I couldn't really see how actually having good connections would even make it better, you know. And now in hindsight, now I left that comfort zone, which obviously is not a comfort zone when you isolate yourself.
Right.
But now that I left it, and now that I think that, well, these good connections that they actually make my life, you know, better and enrich my life. Now I see that it certainly, of course, was not a comfort zone. It was just a, you know, I just had a protection shield around me. So
The
yeah,
opposite
but
of that wide window, right? It's like a very narrow
exactly.
window.
It's really like, yeah, you're like so stuck. But yeah, of course, I also see why it was so difficult to like, you know, build up some good connections. But I think, yeah, and to come back to the running is that I think that helped me a lot. First of all, the running helped me to be like a more confident person and to actually see that I still have some value as a human being, but
Yeah.
also just meeting people along the way who shared that and who just, I don't know, first of all, didn't judge me about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we know that we're all a little bit crazy in what we are doing, but you know, that's totally fine. And and who could also relate to why I do that and why I feel like I have to do it to some degree.
Yeah.
Um, I think that was just, yeah, that was really really helpful. And yeah, like my best friends I've either met through running or through like, yeah, just the trail world, or at least they are somehow connected to, you know, the mountains or whatever.
Yeah.
um so yeah, I think, yeah, in the end it's healing in many ways.
Yeah. There's a moment in the documentary where you say running certainly is not therapy. I need both. Like running is
Yeah,
therapeutic, but it's not the only thing. It makes me think, do you follow on Instagram the account Your Boy Scott Jurek? Do you know what I'm
of
talking
course I
about?
do.
He had one recently. Oh, I just have to like shout out to that person, whoever they are.
Whoever it is, it's the best account ever.
Mystery person. I actually thought it was Scott Jurek for the first year I followed, and then I was like, he's really funny. What's going on here? But they posted something that said, "Running is my therapy," says guy who could absolutely use real therapy.
Yeah. Well, I was the one person saying, "Oh, running is my therapy" a few years ago because
Mhm.
it's so simple.
It's very therapeutic.
And I still agree. It's a great therapy in the sense that it can definitely, for a certain amount of time, make you feel better.
Yeah.
And it's certainly something that does you good. So it's certainly, well, I would say complementary
Yeah.
to other things that you should do if actually you think you need some therapy or you want to work on things. Yeah, I think for me, well, it's important to say that running is not therapy because I think that because I have been in therapy for quite a few years now, and I've experienced what therapy actually means and does and how it works and how helpful it is. Running is great, but it's not, well, it can never be a substitute for real therapy because therapy means that there is another human being who talks to you, who asks you things, and that's just a different like process than, oh, I go to the mountains and I run. Especially because I think people who say running is my therapy, they are still in the phase that they are running away from things,
Mm.
more that they actually sit down and look at things and like face them and try to work through things. So for me, well, running is really helpful, and I think running is really a good thing. Like it's really complementary, like to my with the actual therapy,
Yeah.
because running gives me all this like positive vibes and positive feelings and the self-confidence and like this feeling of, okay, I have something that makes my life a bit more stable and that makes me happy and so on. But then actually really working on things and yeah, facing whatever trauma or issues or whatever you need, well, if you really want to do a therapy, you should do a therapy which is seeing a therapist and talking about things. So it's a bit like easy saying like, oh, I don't need therapy because I have running.
Right.
Well, certainly it's helpful. I mean, because especially because I've been that person who thought, oh, I don't need therapy. I can solve things on my own. I'm good at problem solving, and I've
Yes.
always somehow, figured things out on my own. But only when I had therapy, and only after a few years of therapy, actually, I realized, oh no, there's things I could have never, ever seen on my own or worked through on my own. Like, no, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
And it's not because I was weak or like whatever. No, it's just not possible.
Yeah. Well, even something like you mentioned building trust or feeling trust again. Like you can run around in the mountains largely by yourself because you're at the front of the pack and you're in a small race, but like you're not necessarily going to be confronted with like a relational moment in that way, right? Yes,
Yeah,
there's community and there's support and there's friendship there, and maybe the trust comes about there. But when you really talk about wanting to focus on something traumatic or wanting to work through an issue and wanting to like rebuild a sense of trust, I think psychotherapy is a great place for that. And different cultures have different ways to address supporting mental health and moving through mental health issues. And I think there's different paths up the mountain, if you will. But
yeah,
but it's great to be able to go, you know what, I actually want a person. Like, I want to work with a
yeah,
on this and get some help. And that can be vulnerable too. Just like reaching out, trying to find someone. I know a lot of people say it feels like dating at first. You're like, how do I find a therapist that I actually like? I didn't like this person's office and it smelled weird over here and whatever, like I've literally
yeah,
gone back
it's
to a therapist because their office smelled weird personally. So, like there's all kinds of reasons where you just need to be comfortable enough to start,
yeah,
right? And have a place where it's like, okay, I want to commit to this and figure some things out about myself and hopefully really learn and grow in a deep and valuable way.
Yeah, and it's so hard because, yeah, getting into therapy, I think just deciding that you actually want to see someone that's probably the hardest step at all.
Yeah.
It feels like a weakness at first, and you feel like, oh, for me, it always felt like, oh, I'm sick, I need to
Mm.
go, especially like because the place where I see my therapist, it's in a hospital. So I always felt like, oh, I have to go to the hospital, something is wrong with me. And well, unfortunately, well, I grew up in Germany, and then now I live in Switzerland, and I can only speak for these countries, but it's it's still so stigmatized, like
Yeah.
mental health in general, and it's nobody really talks about it. And I'm like, oh guys, we go to the doctor when we break our arm, we go to the doctor when we have stomach ache, and it's nothing like nothing is wrong with that. And we also should go to the doctor when we don't feel well.
Yeah.
um just in general, like there is nothing like physically broken, but if something like mentally is not yeah, just not good. And but yeah, it's yeah, even for me, it was so hard in the beginning. And yeah, I mean, I was lucky because, well, lucky in the sense that I had, well, the therapist I have now been working together with for like many years. I met her by chance in an emergency room.
Wow.
So I was lucky that she was there, and she was on duty on that day.
Yeah.
Because that was just like by chance. It could have been anyone or from that hospital. And um, it was after that incident, I saw her only like every couple months, and then I didn't see her for a couple years because I thought I was fine.
Yeah.
But I somehow at some point I realized I was definitely not fine, and I went back to see her because she offered me that I could always contact her. And I was just really lucky because I knew that it would be like it could work with her.
Yeah.
And because I've had a different therapist like a decade ago, and that certainly didn't work out. So I already was aware that, it really needs to fit. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I was really lucky in that regard. But still, when I went to see her again, like the first thing I said is, I need help because I feel really bad now, but I don't want to do a therapy.
Yeah.
I was so scared of doing a therapy. And I think after like only like a couple weeks or months, it was obvious that that was pretty much turning into a therapy.
Yeah. You're like, well, let's
That-
just talk and we'll see where it goes.
exactly. And she told me later, like a few years later, she was like, yeah, I already knew in that moment that you came back, that, this was very much the beginning of the therapy. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely very much aware how difficult it is to just, well, first of all, to get to the point where you're like, okay, I think I try this, and then to actually find someone who is fitting. And then also, I think that's probably also even more a problem in the US, is actually be able to pay that person because it's really expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky because in Switzerland, actually, if you have at some point or had a diagnosis at some point from a doctor or whatever, it's pretty much all covered by the basic health insurance.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, I mean, I've been in therapy now for 5 years. I couldn't have done that because most of it I was a student and I wasn't really earning anything,
Yeah.
and it's really expensive. So I just couldn't have afforded. I couldn't afford it. But
Yeah.
because the health insurance is paying it, and I can afford it because basically I pay nothing, which is just a huge privilege, but it really shouldn't be.
I'm so glad you have that. And I wish that for everyone around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem in the US.
Yeah, it's really hard talking to friends. I mean, I also have quite a few friends in the US by now, and talking to them, I mean, not only about therapy, but in general, health related issues. I mean, especially runners, we are injured quite a bit, unfortunately, here and there. And
Yeah.
wow, that's just, I, yeah, I more and more realize how lucky I am to live in a place, where there is an insurance that actually comes up to pay things, especially on the mental side, because I think that's probably something that in some countries it's just really hard to like get any support.
Yeah, and the mental is physical. Like if you're feeling isolated
Yeah.
and getting depressed, there are actually physiological mechanisms behind that. You know what I mean? So it's like
Oh, totally. I totally know. Like it
yeah,
affects you in a way that like people like, I mean, just take something like a panic attack.
yeah,
Panic attacks are really like common, like when people are mentally not feeling well. And like when you have a panic attack, you actually, well, you feel like or you think you are about to die. And that's because your body reacts as if it was going to die. You know, you're
yeah,
hyperventilating, your heart rate is just going crazy. You're just like you think like, okay, this is it.
yeah,
So and I mean also depression, like if there is somebody who has like whatever state of depression, like it makes you just feel sick
yeah,
on a physical side as well. You can't get out of bed, you know, maybe you have like you sweat in the night, or you feel like some pain. I mean, people feel pain in their bones or whatever, but it's not like because they have like a physical disease, so to say, but it's from their mental illness, or I mean, yeah, whatever affects them
yeah,
mentally. So, yeah, it's really sad that yeah, there is still like this taboo around it.
yeah. And there's even like social responses in our body. Like when we have social connection, that looks different than when we're isolated or disconnected, right? So
Oh, totally.
even when people are like, oh, well, I'm just going to go talk to a person, you're like, well, that actually does impact your physiology. We've had Kathleen Kendall Tackett, who's a psychologist, on here a few times. She studies psychoneuroimmunology, and I'm like, God, if I could have picked a major in college as psychoneuroimmunology, I totally would have. Like just to be able to study, like actually, we have enough to know,
Yeah.
if you're shamed or isolated or heartbroken, like there's a physiological response to that. So like let's get rid of that stigma that you're talking about. And just
Totally.
like if you broke your arm, you go to the doctor. If you're depressed, go get some help. And there's lots of different pathways and options. And if you meet someone and their office just smells weird and you can't go back, it's free. Maybe keep going and just endure this.
There's others.
But if you're
No, it's
really just having a vibe that you don't like the person, like
yeah.
find someone and advocate. I mean, that can be hard when you're depressed, but I really hope that anyone listening who's in that space of like wanting to reach out, like you can get that first little push of momentum to just get started.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's always hard to say, well, to convince people that it's worth it because you have to experience it. Like
Yeah.
I can tell people as much as I want how much it helped me, you know, how much better I feel now, how much more stable I feel in my life, but I already know that it will be really difficult for others who are at a different point to understand that, because I would have like I people told me when I was at that point, and I was like, yeah, that's maybe true for you, but it
Yeah.
cannot be true for me. I feel so bad. And only through the experience I got to the point where I'm like, oh, I think they were right. And it
Yeah.
took me a few years, like in the beginning, after like 1-2 years in therapy, I was like, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere, you know. And I was seeing my therapist actually 2 times a week, so I saw her quite frequently. But I had so many things like that I was carrying with me. Like it took a while, and actually in hindsight, I know that I realized that it took me about 2 years to find that trust, because actually trusting a person, that was one of my main issues. And then as soon as I found that trust, suddenly I felt like, oh, now I can work on things, you know, now I
Yes.
can open up all the boxes. And that was a really freeing experience. It was still really scary. And I mean, it's still today. There is still boxes where I'm like, oh, I can open them up now, but it's still really scary. But I think, and I don't know how much longer I will be in therapy, but probably one of the most important things for me about therapy is not only about, you know, working on things and understanding things better and stuff like that, but it's just that person who is there for you, like, and who accompanies you like for many years, and that allows you to trust. And it's not, yeah, of course it is about what you talk and like what you work on and all these issues, but I think this basic, like just that connection that we are again having the connections, just having a connection, a solid connection that is persistent.
Yes.
um, I think that is for me maybe the biggest benefit of the therapy, because that was something, and I think I also say that in the documentary, I only realized that doing therapy, that it was the first time for me that there was a person that was just there, and I was not judging and not expecting anything and just listening and, of course, trying to help me and work towards a better version of myself. But yeah, who was just there and not leaving and is just there. I mean, I've just been to see my therapist today, so like it's still an ongoing process, and yeah, just having that connection and being able to trust that connection, I think that, yeah, that might be one of the most valuable outcomes next to, all the other stuff.
And you talk about persistence. I think that's such a great word. And it relates to trail running too, just having that persistence and a person who's with you in that persistence. Like my experience, I've been in therapy and a therapist, for a long time. And I feel like someone who can be with you when you're like, oh, I just don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. And they can be like, yeah, that's really frustrating. Like, what can we do? Like, can we notice that feeling and what is it about? And, explore it and see where do you want to go? What would it look like to feel better? Like just having that persistence, because we would love for it to be this very linear, exponential graph or where you're just like, I just keep getting better and better all the time. But life is not like that.
It's
And
not like that, no.
at all, right? And even training and fitness aren't like that. It's all over the place and it's messy. And so to have a human there with you who's like, this is how it is, and I'm going to be here with you, and I'm going to be persistent, and we're working together, and to have that support. I mean, there's so much even research. People talk about evidence-based practice in psychotherapy, which is important. But the strongest evidence is for the relationship, right? And it's for
Yeah.
the building of the trust and the social support and all the impact that has. And then the other tools, yes, are also important. And we find the ones that work at different times for different reasons. But like those don't work by themselves without just a relationship underneath, right? Without some sense of trust and connection. And there's like AI therapy coming out. Some of it's really scary.
Oh.
Awful things have happened, but it's also like, okay, if we can use the tools in that way and people can access something rather than nothing, okay. But like the human piece of this is so important. Even on a biological level, it's like interacting with a human. I don't know. I don't know where tech will go, but I don't think I've seen the little robots that they're starting to, like a home robot you can buy that like cleans up behind you. I'm like, I don't think the connection's going to quite feel real in my lifetime. I don't know. We'll see.
I highly doubt it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there is like robots who are good at, looking at X-rays or
Yeah.
whatever. I think, yeah, they might be better at that. I just I listened to a podcast where there was a cancer expert, and she was like, if you have a CT scan or whatever, you should give it to AI because they see the patterns much easier than we see them. So
Yeah.
that should be something maybe. But yeah, I think especially when it's about therapy and when it is so much about connections
Yeah.
and the difficulties of connections, because that's what separates us from machines, basically, is that they have all these, they only have the rational like thinking. They don't have emotions and feelings and whatever. And like 80% of the time in therapy, it's about emotions and feelings.
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
to deal with them, and how to acknowledge them, and how to learn from them. And it was interesting in those first 2 years of my therapy, because I still had quite a few really deep lows in that time, and I think that was what made me doubt that the therapy was going to work.
Yeah.
But my therapist was always in these situations, she was like, well, but we can use this situation now to learn from it.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting, because at first I was like, oh, okay, well, but I'm still like feeling really bad right now. But it was then when I realized, okay, now I am in a bad situation, but I'm not on my own there. And there's already somebody who helps me and, who guides me in a way and who I see like every week. And who can just also ask the right questions, because that's something that, when I go talk to a friend, they are not that experienced. Maybe they don't ask the right questions, but then a therapist usually has some experience and they work with many patients. And I think that's certainly a quality that my therapist has had, that she uses to like just ask ask the right questions, where I feel like, oh yeah, this is helpful now to think about this. And yet really just telling me, hey, this is a bad phase now, but let's take it as like basically like a case study.
Yeah.
to see, okay, what happened, how is it evolving, and then also, well, of course, at some point it would get better and I would get like, over it. And then she was like, okay, now we can reflect on it, and now we can analyze it, and just, I think in hindsight I learned so much from these situations, just because I immediately had somebody working with me on these situations.
In it, while you're in it, right? You don't have
Yeah,
to wait for it to get worse or build a relationship from
yeah.
scratch when you're in a
And
low.
also because she was there and she saw how I was in that situation. She also learned so much about me, how I was behaving, how I was feeling. And I think it was even the fact that she, like, somebody was seeing me, like in that situation. And I felt like, okay, I might only see her once or twice a week, but there is still somebody who knows I am not doing well right now. And even if maybe I couldn't tell my friends, or like people are at my workplace, they didn't know, but I knew there was at least somebody who would know. There was no way around it. Like, there was no way hiding how I was like before, when I just isolated myself. So I couldn't isolate myself anymore. And sometimes that was annoying because I
Yeah,
just
you're like,
wanted to
oh, I have
isolate
to
myself.
see
So I
this
was
thing.
like,
I can't avoid it. Yeah.
damn, I still have to go there, and I have to talk. I cannot sit there for an hour and like not saying anything. And just, be like being seen in that situation, and not on my own with things. I think maybe I didn't appreciate it that much in that moment, but
Yeah.
in hindsight, I think it was like, it was just so important for the healing, and of course for the trust process. Yeah. So it can be a really rocky road. And but as you say, it's like with training, I mean, like, it's never just going up. There is
Going
always
up
some
and
downs and
down and
ups
all
and
around
downs.
and loops and yeah.
And if it may be in a race, but also just in general, in training. And I mean, I had it quite a few times in the last 2 years that I thought, oh, I'm back on track, and boom, there was
Yeah.
something else
And
coming at me,
even
and I was like, oh,
you've talked about too how physical injury can fall into this too, where oh, I'm doing great, I'm feeling strong, I've got a race
yeah,
coming up, I feel so joyful when I'm in the mountains, I feel so confident in my body, and then I mean you literally got hit by a car, right? and,
yeah,
and then like hurt your knee and like have had to do PT and rehab and change course and just take care of your very physical body. But there's mental health
yeah.
implications to that too, because if you love running and that's what you want to do, and someone says you can't run for this long or you need to do this other thing to get there, like
Mhm.
that can really impact your mentality, which then impacts how you feel in your body. And even, if you might want to isolate, you might, right? So
Yeah.
you could get depressed when something like that happens. So how have you addressed those types of mindset challenges, those types of physical injuries and the mental health impact?
That's a really good question, because I had a few too many of them in
Yeah,
the
right? You got like a
last
lot in a
couple of years.
row.
Yeah, I would say I really had a streak of bad luck, and I say I had because of course I hope that
Mm-hmm.
it's over soon.
Knocking on wood over here with you.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, it started with the car accident like almost 2 years ago. And I remember that after that accident, like, that I had a really bad time like dealing with that. Because I think also because of the fact that it was an accident and I couldn't have done anything like different. Like it was just somebody else's fault, and I had to accept that. And that I think that was really, really hard. And I actually think in hindsight that because I was in such a bad mental state, like it slowed down my healing process, like the healing of my knee, which I injured in that accident. But I also, I worked continuously during that time with my therapist on how I feel, why I feel how I feel, and why it is so difficult, and what I can do, what I can try to make it better and work on things. And I think that was really, really important for me, because what I didn't know at that point was what was yet to come.
Yeah, more.
And so in hindsight, it was really good that I worked so much with her on that topic in that time, because it got a bit better afterwards and I could do my season. But at the end of the season, like the knee was always kind of an issue throughout the year, and then by the end of the year we had to do surgery actually.
Oh.
And then I was out also again for like 2 months after surgery, and that was hard. And then I came back from surgery, and then I thought like, okay, 2025 will be awesome. My knee is fixed and I will just like crush it. And
Yes.
I worked to
Ready to go.
I worked towards my comeback, and like I had like 3 really good months of training. And in April, I wanted to run my first race post surgery, and I was like, I felt like I don't know if I've ever felt that fit. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I've overcome everything. Well, I did my last long one just like as I usually do, like 10 days out of from the race, and it went super well. I felt great. I was so hyped for the race. And then I slipped and just hit my knee on the trail. And I was like, okay, well, I just slipped. How bad can it be? I will just continue to run. And the rest of the run was fine. But then the next few days, I really had some pain in my knee. And I was like, this isn't good. The race is only a week away. And I actually even went to the race, but I rested. And a day before the race, I tried to run and I couldn't run for like 10 seconds, and it was so painful. I was like, okay, I guess I really just injured my knee really badly in another like just crazy freak accident. And it turned out that I had like a bone bruise in the knee, so I was again off. I couldn't run for another 6 weeks, and it was in May, so that was really hard because the weather was so nice. Everybody was like, oh, let's do something together. I was like, I shouldn't move because I'm injured again. And that was just such a bummer once more, because I'm like, I thought I was, overcome it. And then there was that. And then afterwards, I just had like 4 weeks to get ready for Hardrock, which was really not ideal.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we were there at Hardrock. I would have never guessed or known. I mean, I didn't really know until the documentary how many injuries you had sustained. I mean, you just look so strong. And anyone, like that race is so obviously physically challenging that I was like, oh my goodness. You must have done a lot of physical therapy.
I do a lot of cross training actually. I think because I come from triathlon, so I'm used to just, jump into the pool when I cannot run. And well, bone bruises are really not no fun, but at least you can do non-weight bearing exercise. So I could get back to some cycling after a couple weeks, which I think was helpful. But of course I did a lot of extra stuff. I rested a lot. I saw my physio. I did some electrotherapy. I tried to take all the important supplements and, check that my diet is absolutely on point and all these little things. And I think also just having already that good base from the training after the surgery and the comeback. And the interesting thing was that when I had that injury, I already felt such a difference to the year before, where I was very frustrated. Because I was like, suddenly I could deal with it in a different way. And I was like, okay, I'm out for a while, but this is not the end of the world. I can still move. I will be back running, and I actually will be back running in like 2 months. I can still do a race this year. I can still go do Hardrock, because of course I was like, oh, I cannot miss Hardrock.
Yeah.
Out of any race, it really shouldn't be Hardrock.
Yeah.
Especially because you never know when you get in again.
Mm-hmm.
So I really was like, and it was so tight, and nobody really knew if the time would be enough to get back. So yeah, but it was great to see that from a mental perspective, I was much more at ease and much more confident in my abilities. And actually, I think that was certainly helpful in the healing process. Like, yeah, I mean, it was tight, but it worked out. So actually, yeah, bone healed pretty well. Yeah, and then just recently, I mean, I did UTMB, which was my second race this year, which was really cool. And then the day after UTMB, I was like, oh, I think I am actually finally I'm done with all of these things. And then 2 days later, I had this pain in my foot developing, and I was like,
Like, are we out of the woods
whatever
yet?
it is, are you fucking serious? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And
Oh,
and and now I had these struggles with my foot for like almost 2 months, and yeah, it's this is actually the first time that I have an injury which is not related to an accident. So I
okay.
know that there was a lot of bad luck and
Mhm.
bad coincidence, but and now it's like, now I still don't know what the problem was. Maybe it was with my shoe, or maybe it was that I twisted my ankle and I didn't realize in the race, something like that.
Mm.
But again, now especially because it's almost now the longest injury I've had in the last 2 years. But again, I feel like how far I come on dealing with it on the mental side. I mean, of course, I still really much would prefer to be able to run.
Yes.
I mean, actually, there is a race that I would have run that race right now as we speak.
Really?
On wonderful Gran Canaria.
Yes. Oh.
It should have been the last race of my season, but I also had to cancel it. Also because maybe I would have been able to run, but I certainly didn't want to risk, my next season.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm
Not
like,
worth it.
I just want to finally, get healthy again, like fully healthy, and just be able to run. Because I think the years before I was like really good in avoiding injuries, and I do a lot of strength training and all that stuff that is not fun at all, but you should do it, and it's
Yeah.
really helpful. And now I just had 2 years where there was many like freak things happening, and accidents, and bad stuff. And yes, it's really frustrating and disappointing, but at the same time, I think, well, I mean, I could have done with like one or two injuries less, but I also know that maybe because it was so much, I also just had to learn how to deal with it in a good way and how to overcome things. And I think now I think, or hopefully for the future, I will be much better with dealing with these situations and overcoming these situations. And I think I just learned a lot about myself, but also again, why do I run? Why is it so important for me? And I think I mainly learned to just relax. And yes, waiting is hard. I'm not the most patient person. But I even learned that. I think I learned to be patient and actually tell myself, okay, I'm not sitting in a wheelchair. I'm not having a disease that is uncurable, whatever. Yes, I have a stupid injury, and yes, it may take a few more weeks or months to heal, but there is no reason why I shouldn't be able to do what I love afterwards.
Yeah.
So yes, right now maybe I need to focus on other things, and but realizing, hey, I will get there again, and also I'm still here, I still have other things that excite me. There is still amazing people that surround me, and I'm still the same person with the same value. I don't have to, I'm not, I just talked about, it's funny because I just told my therapist about it today. I was like, I still feel like I am an athlete and I am a runner, even though I'm not running maybe because whatever injury, but I'm still that confident to say, hey, yes, I am that person, and it is my identity, and I'm worth it. But I, even though I cannot show that right now, that I can run well,
Yeah.
or I cannot run a race or whatever, and I'm not doubting myself. And yeah, I think that's already quite an achievement because yeah, a few years ago, if I would have whatever small injury or nickel, that was a crisis.
Yes. Yeah. So your response is different. I hear
Yeah,
acceptance in that. I hear flexibility, right? Patience, connection with people, like talking to your
yeah,
therapist about it, like keeping the confidence of like, this is still who I am, even though I'm working on it right now, right? I'm
yeah,
working with my body, but that doesn't shake me up in the same way that maybe it used to.
yeah, and also not like punishing myself for,
Mm,
not being able to do something because I don't know why, but we human beings usually are pretty good at like being very like kind to others, but not kind to ourselves.
yeah.
And I think I was for a really long time, I was pretty good at really not being kind to myself. And that's something I think learned in the last year maybe that yeah, I can be kind to myself now.
Yeah.
And I'm not fighting myself because something is not working, but I'm working with myself, to like deal with the situation. Maybe there is some things I cannot change right now, but what what benefit do I have if I additionally also make myself feel bad, and drag myself further down? I mean, there is no benefit at all. Like it will only make me feel worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
why
like you
waste?
said, maybe make your physical recovery actually longer too, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And why waste time, lifetime with just feeling bad and making myself even feel worse for something that just happened and I can there's it's possible for me to change anything right now
Yeah.
about if I can run or not, but I can very much affect like how I think about it, how I deal with things, how and especially how I think about myself. And I can choose if I am like punishing myself or if I'm kind to myself and like you know just actually even like feeling sorry for myself. I think like many people cannot really feel like sad and feel like okay that's okay, but it's more like oh that's a really uncomfortable feeling and I don't want to feel like that and it makes me feel weak and blah blah blah. And I think just being able to say hey I'm really sorry that this
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
and but I'm also confident that I can get through this and
Yes.
yeah, I think that's just something yeah that's certainly not easy to learn depending on where you know you
Yeah.
come from and where you start. But now now that I actually managed to do that, I see how valuable it is and how much easier it makes these situations that are of course still hard, but yeah, they don't break me anymore. So
Yeah.
and that's yeah, I mean there will always be situations like these and
It's life, right? It's like
yeah, exactly.
problem solving, detour, detour, problem solving
Yeah, pivot here, pivot there.
every once in a while. Woohoo!
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Once it all comes together. What would you say to someone who's listening who wants to do something really challenging? It doesn't have to be running, but who's maybe on the edge of
Yeah.
like, oh, I really want to do this hard thing and I don't know.
Just do it.
Yeah,
Just,
just
I mean,
try, right?
well, just try and, well, depending on what it is, but usually ask yourself, what could possibly go wrong?
Hmm.
Like, what is the, well, think about what is the worst case scenario?
Hmm.
And then think about that. And then you're like, okay, maybe it's actually not, well, maybe if that would happen, yeah, that wouldn't be that bad. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't get sick or I couldn't die or whatever. Like I'm like, okay, if that is not like the worst, well, okay, we can always die and always get sick, but if if that's not the worst possible thing, but if it's more like oh maybe I try something and I cannot do it, but is that actually that bad?
Yeah.
Maybe then you're like, okay, well, not maybe, but surely you will learn a lot about yourself. And then maybe you will try it again or you will not. But I mean, as long as yeah, nobody is like, no other people are involved that you could harm, for
Right.
example, or as long as you can't really harm yourself with that, then just do it. And yeah, I mean, best case it works and
Yeah.
makes you happy, and worst case maybe it doesn't make you happy, then you don't try it again. Yeah. But really, I often had that situation that I was like, okay, I really am scared to try something. Okay, now I think about what's the worst thing that could possibly happen, or what is the thing that makes it scary and that I am afraid of.
Yes.
And then really think about it. Okay, and why is that? And then usually you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is really stupid. It's just, I just try to find excuses somehow to not do something that is maybe challenging, or maybe where I mean, many people don't try things because they are not sure that they can succeed.
Yes.
Which then raise the question, why do we have to succeed? Why can we not try something and maybe it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Why do I have to be sure that something works to actually do something? And I mean, yeah, it's the same thing with running, with races. I mean, I've had races like Tour de Géants last year where I wasn't sure if I could finish it. I wasn't. And of course I was a bit scared of, just having to stop and everybody else finishes it, and I feel like the idiot who just couldn't finish it. But I was like, okay, this is comparatively, like, yeah, like how bad can it be? I mean, I will hopefully not die doing it, and there will be no consequences when I cannot finish it. And I mean, yeah, maybe, and also like things like with therapy in the beginning, I was like, I don't know if I will get anywhere, but there's only so many things that could happen that are really bad. So
Yeah.
why not just try it? And yeah, I think that's because the problem is, if there is always an excuse in our head, or always something that keeps us from doing it, like we will always find something. We will always find a fear, or like, something that keeps us, or something where we're like, we're not sure if we want to do that, so maybe we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But if we never try it, then we will never know that there might be something good waiting for us. And usually it is the scary things that, if we overcome our fear, will actually help us, or like reward us with something positive. Or
I mean, you mentioned Tour de Géants, like you won that race. You're like, oh, I'm not sure if I can do it. You're like, first place.
well, yeah, but it's true.
And it doesn't have to be about that, like I want to over,
Exactly.
but
No,
like it's an example of, it's such a great example of not knowing and then finding out. And maybe other races you found out, oh, I got to pull out of this race, but then you learn something, or then you have some sort of experience around it. Like we don't have control, right, over
yeah,
everything, but the willingness to go, I don't know if I can do this. Maybe I'm going to be that person freezing on a bench waiting for a ride, and what are
yeah,
people going to think of me? And then you're like, oh, I guess that's actually okay. And then giving
yeah.
yourself that permission allows you to go and try. And I was celebrating with you, seeing you cross that finish line, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, races, I would say it's relatively safe because, yeah, what can happen? I mean, worst case, you disappoint yourself, and then that's maybe something that's worth working on,
Mm-hmm.
such that you will not have that feeling in the future anymore. Yes, of course, there's other things in life that are maybe a bit more risky,
Yeah.
or where you're like, oh, I really don't know if I should do it. Like, well, I experienced it a few times in recent months with friends who were just like, oh, I'm really not happy, in my job and whatever, but I'm also like, I'm scared, trying something new. And I'm like, yeah, but you will never know if there was something like way better waiting for you, but you were afraid, and then you were just stuck in your job that didn't make you happy forever. And I mean, even for me now, I've been working as a scientist for a few years, and but I felt more and more that I really wanted to just focus on one thing and just focus on running. And now next year I will actually stop working as a scientist for a while and only focus on the running. And yeah, that's scary. And it took me a while to actually be like, okay, I will just try that, because it's also like, especially people in Switzerland, they would come up and they were like, what, you are like a professional runner, is that even a job?
Yeah.
What happens if you injure yourself, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I know, and maybe it will not work out. There is a high chance that it also does not work out, but I still want to try it. And I mean, yeah, worst case, I will just, again, there is the worst case. So what is the worst case that happens? The worst case that happens is it might not work, but I have my education. I have my degree at the university. I guess I would just have to go back and do another like job as a scientist,
Yeah.
and that's fine too. But if I don't try it now, I will probably never try it, because especially with running, like at some point I will be too old, and now is the point. Like, yeah, now is the time to just risk something, but I'm not putting myself like in danger. It's just, yeah, okay, I try something. I don't know if it works out. It's a bit scary, but yeah, maybe, yeah, I will never know if I don't try.
I think that's such an important piece.
Maybe that's
Like
the essence. Yeah.
the internal question of like, well, if you want it, if there's something in you that's, and I always say with these types of runs, like you got to want it. There's got to be something in you that
Oh
wants
yeah.
it, right? Otherwise, you're going to question. You're going to be like, why am I doing this? There's no reason. Bye. I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. And so, same thing with transitioning in your career. Like, there's something in you that wants it. And so, listening to that and being willing to lean in that direction, whatever that looks like. Right. And for you, that's like, okay, next year I'm going to go out and just focus on running. I remember actually, I think this is the first time I met you. It was 2024, the depletion mile, where the people who run hard
Oh
and
yeah.
all the volunteers run a mile the morning after. It's another crazy layer of ultra running. My goal as a postpartum mom was to go run the depletion mile and not be the last person. I think I was like the third to last person. I celebrated. I did like a 9-minute mile at 10,000 feet or 9,000 feet. I was so happy.
Which is pretty good.
I was so happy with my
To be
performance.
honest.
Thank you, Katharina. Thank you. But we were chatting I think it was before, with you and Howie, just hanging out, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I gotta catch my flight, gotta get back. And I was like, yeah, I gotta get back to work. I'm like, you just ran Hardrock, and you're like, yeah, I gotta get back to work tomorrow morning. I'm like, and now you're gonna fly home to Switzerland on a long flight after running 100+ miles and go to work in the morning. Like, I'm tired. I was just cheering and ran 1 mile, and like, I'm not ready to go back to work yet. And I was just like, wow, that is next level. So, wow. And also, like, I'm glad that you're going to have more space for rest, because get your legs up the wall, like have some of that
Man,
buffer.
I must admit that was really not the best idea I've ever had.
Been there before, where there's something I love and I'm just like, this is going to be a red eye into a 6
Yeah.
a.m. meeting, and you just do it. And it's not the best for our bodies. Like, we know that, but sometimes you just love something so much, you take the crappy flight for it.
Totally. I mean, yeah, I've learned from that year, and so this year I took a couple more days in Silverton to wind down after the
Good.
race, and actually I think my recovery was so much better this year.
Good. Yeah. We're all learning from that. We're all listening
Yeah.
and learning. I know it took me like decades to be like, put a day in between when you return home,
Yeah.
when you start work.
Yeah.
Really do it. Even if you're not running, just give yourself a minute. It's okay.
Yeah, I think I'm so used, because I've done this like 2 jobs almost. I've done it for quite a few years now, and I've, in the meantime I finished my PhD. So I had some really like stressful times, and as I remember when I finished my PhD in the last few weeks, I was training for Worlds, which was immediately after I handed my thesis. So like,
So
I
much.
think in general I'm just so used to have like a schedule that is just full.
Yeah.
And where there is no breaks and whatever. And I can do that for a certain time, but I realized, yeah, in the last 2 years more and more, that I'm like, well, first of all, I think I don't have to do it. I'm in the privileged position now with the sport, that I can work less and afford it, which is really cool. But also, like, experiencing, hey, actually it's quite nice to have some breaks
Yes.
and to have those time slots in the day where I just do, well, where I neither work nor train nor do anything that is related to training.
Yeah.
But where I just, do something else, like meet friends, where I read, where I just do nothing.
Yes.
I think I was always a bit scared of these, of this, of that free time basically. And now experiencing, hey, that can actually be something really nice. And of course it's like helping also with recovery, as you say. I mean, when I stop working at the office, I will not train necessarily more, but I will rest more.
Yes.
And hopefully I will recover better and hopefully just be more balanced. And I am sure that that will help me as an athlete to grow and to improve. But yeah, I think because I was always used to that and I never thought about, hey, it would be actually nice, have a weekend where I don't work.
Yeah.
And
Mental space too.
or just being able to sleep in, or like to not have an alarm clock every morning and get that one more hour of sleep per night, which is really like a huge benefit. Yeah. So and of course, I mean, I will not get rich just by running only. I mean, I'm one of the few lucky people who can make this their job. And yes, I give up another job with another income to pursue the running, but then I'm like, okay, maybe I earn less, but I actually gain so much. Like I get all this time and space. And I just like slowing down a little bit and just having these moments where I'm just like, okay, I don't need to do anything right now, and I'm in no rush. I think in general that's just also really just de-stressing, which can only be healthy.
So I often ask people at the end, like, what brings you joy? We know running brings you joy. So what brings you ease?
I have to say, I even when I rest and not run, whatever, I really just like to be in nature.
Yeah.
I think that really, like, nature is something really calming to me. And I'm here when I'm in Switzerland, of course, the mountains are just so beautiful and I really enjoy being in the mountains. But one reason why I really like being in Silverton around the Hardrock course is that it's remote. There's very few people.
Yeah.
And you are not only in nature, but usually you are in nature on your own. You don't have cell service. You couldn't even look at your phone because you can't use it. So that's really freeing. And actually that in that moment, you're like, okay, I'm just existing now and I can just sit down and look around and it's really beautiful here. And I think that's for me to relax. I think I actually would say I need to be in nature. Like for me, it doesn't work well when I'm inside.
Yeah.
Of course, I can lay in bed and I love reading, so I can lay in bed, have a nice book, and that is also not bad. But I think to actually really unwind and come down, I think, yeah, nature is that's what helps me.
Yeah.
Because there's still like some energy and there's still something around you, and maybe there's some birds you can hear or like the wind and whatever. And it's just, I feel like in nature, I've had many phases in life where I felt really lonely, but I never felt lonely in nature.
Yes.
So I think that's just, again, connection, but not a human connection, but just a connection to whatever is around you.
Yeah.
I think that is something that, I really like, and that is really just helpful and relaxing.
Yeah, I totally feel that too. And yeah, you're connecting with the mountains when you're out there. You're connecting with the nature when you're resting and just being with yourself. And it sounds like you're moving into a different season. It's going to be a little bit of a different way, a little more space.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. And I wish you well with your foot and working through all of that. And how can people connect with you if they want to follow your journey?
I think the easiest is if people follow me on Instagram.
Okay.
So just Google my name and you will find my handle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the easiest, because I'm not like, I'm not active on Facebook anymore. So yeah, Instagram is the way to connect. And I try to share a bit of my journey there. Usually not right now, because when I do my off season, I usually also do like an off season on social media. So
Yeah.
I may not post anything in November, but I will be back there as soon as I resume my preparation for the next season. And yeah, if you are a runner or triathlete or whatever, and you're interested in my training, you can also have a look at Strava. I have the public profile there, and yeah, if some people want some motivation or inspiration, or just are curious what I do when I'm not injured,
Yes.
or maybe even when I'm injured, because then I still do a lot of
There's learning there too.
I share not all my sessions, but I would say like 90% of my sessions.
Nice. Anything you're willing to share about what your plans are for next year? Will we see you at Hardrock?
Well, I mean, I would love to be back, of course. My name is in the lottery, but yeah, it's Hardrock, and I've been lucky enough to be picked by the race director the last few years, which of course will not happen again. So now I need to get into the lottery, and yeah, well, because I don't know if that can happen. I mean, I am a 2-time finisher, so I have slightly higher chances than other people. But yeah, I mean, I will be there.
Yes.
I cannot not be there, but I don't know yet if I will be able to run. But yeah, I want to start my next season actually with the Trans Gran Canaria.
Okay.
Gran Canaria Island at the beginning of March. And then in the spring, I will most likely do a personal project. It's not fixed yet, which is why I will not share plans just yet. But by the end of the year, I should be able to talk about it. And yeah, then I will spend a few weeks in the US and hopefully race there. If I don't race Hardrock, then I race something else.
Yeah.
And then I will go back, and actually my main goal for next year is to run a Tour de Géants again.
Nice.
In September, because last year it was about finishing, and now I know I can do that.
Yes.
So now I set myself a different challenge.
Yes, I love it.
I want to go back there, and then I will maybe do another race in November, because UTMB, if you want to run a UTMB again at some point, then with the qualification you need to run a race in their series. So maybe I do a late race just to have the qualifier for the next year. But yeah, that's not fixed yet either. But yeah, Tour is definitely the big goal next year.
Yeah. Well, look for me with like a 2, I guess she'll be 3 at that point, 3-year-old in my arms. So my partner Alex. If you hear that, ooh, that's me. Sound I was like, you actually hear it at the end of your documentary. You could see me and my daughter on the sidelines, and then you hear me go, ooh. I was like, there I am.
Oh, that's awesome. See, now I have to rewatch it.
We're just no, it's just a little corner of my shirt. You're not even gonna probably see it. But I just want to like celebrate you. I so admire you as an athlete and a person. Thank you for sharing everything you shared here today, and for the documentary, just being honest about your experience and the healing that's come through running and therapy and other pathways, nature. I think, other people just benefit from hearing that, and just, so admire all of that about you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to not only talk about running, but also a bit about, mental health and my journey. Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, we're all here rooting for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katharina. Thank you so much for listening. Now, I'd really love to hear from you. What resonated with you in this episode? And what's on your mind and in your heart as we bring this conversation to a close? Email me at info@howwecanheal.com, or share your answers and what's been healing for you in the comments on Instagram, where you'll find me at How We Can Heal. Don't forget to go to howwecanheal.com to sign up for email updates as well. You'll also find additional trainings, tons of free resources, and the full transcript of each and every show. If you love the show, please leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe, and keep sharing the shows you love the most with all your friends. Visit howwecanheal.com/podcast to share your thoughts and ideas for the show. I always love hearing from you. Before we wrap up for today, I want to be super clear that this podcast isn't offering prescriptions. It's not advice, nor is it any kind of mental health treatment or diagnosis. Your decisions are in your hands, and I encourage you to consult with any healthcare professionals you may need to support you through your unique path of healing. In addition, everyone's opinion here is their own, and opinions can change. Guests share their thoughts, not that of the host or sponsors. I'd like to thank our guest today and everyone who helped support this podcast directly and indirectly. Alex, thanks for taking care of the babe and taking the fur babies out while I record. Last and never least, I'd like to give a special shout out to my big brother Matt, who passed away in 2002. He wrote this music, and it makes my heart so very happy to share it with you here.